What's going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. In the last vlog you guys saw us get the bottom end of my RB20 together for my S14. So we're pretty much ready to put the head on now. But first, what I gotta do, what we're doing in today's video, is got to do the head drain on the head. So guys, remember a while ago, got my Franklin Performance head drain set. Today that's what we're gonna be doing to my RB20 head here. So all I've gotta do is pop that little bung out there and use a hole punch, mark out where I've gotta drill some holes, and yeah, it's pretty much the head drain sorted. First, before I do that, I'm actually going to get the sump onto the motor. I also showed you in the last video that I got my sump that Robbie from JB Fab modified for me. So what I'm gonna have to do first is go and clean up all of the gunk and crap around here so we can then put some fresh shit on and put that on the motor. And I'm also gonna hit that with a little bit of black paint and give the whole thing a scuff and just make it look a bit tidier. I've just got back from Mitre 10, went and picked myself up a wire brush set. It's one of Tobin's favourite tools, this lot right here. So I'm gonna use this on a drill to clean up all the crap that's on the edge of the sump. Once done that, we will chuck it on the motor and then start this head drain. So did all the wire wheeling and got all the old gunk off around the edge of the sump and gave the whole thing a Scotch-Brite and hit it with some paint. It's just out in the sun now drying. It turned out pretty good. Nothing too fantastic, but it's only a sump, you're never gonna see it. Just make it look that little bit nicer, that's all we want. While that dries, I'm gonna make a start on doing the head drain on the head. Once that dries, I need to give the inside of it a bit of a wash out because obviously using the wire wheel to get all that gunk off it kind of throws it everywhere and a lot of it got in the sump, and you definitely want to clean all that shit out before you go putting it on the motor. So anyway, while that's drying, I'm gonna get onto the head. First off, I'm just gonna pop that little thing out there. So yeah, that's the little thing that you want to take out there. So this is our head drain. It's got a little O-ring on it, so that sort of just pops in like that. We're going to take the O-ring off for now because we don't want to damage it. So that's sort of how I'm going to want it to sit, because I'm going to have it going off to the intake side, which is that side. So grab a hole punch, sort of mark out where you want it. You can see that it's just left a little mark there and another sort of little mark there. And then what we're going to do is going to grab a 5mm drill bit, which I went and brought a new set just here. So now I've just got my 5mm drill bit. Just going to drill 2 holes. So those are our 2 little holes drilled. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see inside there, but you can see that there's only a couple little shards like right by where the head bolt goes, which is good because then you can just quickly vacuum that out and then we should be good. So now I've got my 2 holes drilled out. I'm going to use my tap and die set here to cut some new thread. So I've got the bit that I need. Also just going to grab this little tool here. This thing is pretty cool. You've seen me use this before, so this has got like a little sort of like square back on it. All you do is you just screw that out. That just slots in there and you tighten it back up. So the holes are all drilled and tapped, head drain's pretty much sorted ready, so all I've got to do now is put the sump onto the block So I gave this a quick little water blast and it's all dry now. Paint's come out good. So yeah, once I get the sump on this, I can flip it over and put the head on. And then once the head's on, sump's on, then we can figure out how long I need the line to be. So I've got the line here. I'm gonna need to cut both ends off because they're a bit wonky. It's gonna make them a bit difficult to get them onto the fittings. But I also need to probably cut that to length anyway because how it is right now is probably a little bit too long. But yeah, we'll get the sump on. Got my red RTV here that Corey reckons is for Hories. But get that on there, just the tin bead, and then yeah, we'll get that on the block. Not cracked, is it?
Well, I can't crack it when I've got my hands full.
Oh, I can put it all down there. So I have got the sump on now. A little bit RTV, try cleaning up a little bit. Probably go through and wipe a little bit more of the excess off, but now it's time to put the head on. So just wipe down the surface of the head and wipe down the surface of the block too. Now it's time to put the head gasket on, which is here. This is a pretty big moment. The motor is going to be fully together in about half an hour. Cheers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and that's where all the sparkies go in there, obviously.
Where? Yep.
Not that fucking stupid. Just hand tighten it and then proper tighten it after.
Yeah, because you have to, because the way, like obviously metal like moves around, you don't want it to bow, so you start in the middle and you go out, so it like presses it and smooths it out.
Oh, okay.
But just go to the hand tight.
Yeah. Turn that down, I'll leave you to it. Yeah. Have you?
Love you too.
Alright, mate.
Cool. Alright, so I've got the head on the block now, and I've got all the head bolts in and just sort of tighten up by hand and then just give them a quick little turn with the ratchet. So first off, I've just read a thing online and I'm going to do it in 3 different steps. So first I'm going to do 22 foot-pounds, and then I'm going to go to 40 foot-pounds, and then a final torque sequence of 47 foot-pounds. So I'm going to start, you start in the middle and then you basically work your way out is what you want to do. Get on to doing that now, and yeah, it's a pretty cool moment actually, because like I said, this motor's been apart for so long now, and yeah, it's finally coming together. This is awesome. Luckily I picked this up before I actually went and torqued these all down properly, because I forgot the anti-seize stuff. Thankfully I remembered that, so I'll quickly take these back out and put some of this on all of them, and then we'll resume this. Mistake amended. So I did buy brand new head bolts, and yeah, came with this copper anti-seize assembly lube. So the reason I decided to go with these head bolts instead of sort of upgrading to ARP head studs was the fact that at the time I brought these, I was real low on cash, and the ARP head studs were like another 250 bucks on top of the price of these. It's not the end of the world, because I can just upgrade ARP head studs down the track if I ever do want to go pushing a bit more power out of this thing. But for my power goal for right now, for off the bat, these head bolts are more than capable for handling the job. Like I said, down the track, if I do want to go for a bit more power, I can do the ARP head studs. I'll just do the 1 in 1 out trick. Now that we've got the copper anti-seize on these, and then chuck them back in the engine and yeah, torque them down. I now have the head on my motor. It's all torqued down, and now I can finally put the head drain on and figure out what sort of length I need to cut the line so it can all sit nice and flush and not be too long. Because this has like a little O-ring around it, you can just put a little bit of grease on it just so when I go to put it in, it doesn't pinch it and ruin the seal, because if it ruins the seal, then it's going to leak, and if it leaks, then that's a bad time. Hey, you said you wanted to come help.
Not like this.
Hey?
Not like this. Can't stand still. That's a smart idea.
Something like that. So I got the fitting to go on the back of the head all on, and this little fitting on as well. Unfortunately, because of where the engine stand is mounted to the actual motor, it puts that on a bit of a weird angle and I can't actually tighten it up, which is kind of annoying, but we can still figure out the length that we need, and when we go to put the motor in it, once we get it up on the engine's hoist, can actually fit this on. So come over here to the line itself. You can see the ends a little bit sort of more oval shaped. So I'm gonna have to cut both ends anyway to be able to get them to fit into here nicely. So how we're gonna do that is we'll put a little bit of tape around it and then get the grinder and cut it. The reason for the tape is you can see sort of the ends of the braided line sort of like flare out, kind of a little bit like that. I don't know if the camera can pick it up too easy, but the tape just sort of minimizes that and then just makes it a little bit easier to slip into the little fitting here. Alright, so now what we do is, I've just done it, forgot to film it, but what you take this fitting out of this bit here. Actually, I'll grab the other one and show you. So they come in like this. What you do is you screw this part of it off, and then you put that over the end of the hose, and you give it a couple smacks until you can see that the hose goes right to where the threads are. And then once it's there, there's a little bit in it that sort of like grabs it. And then that, you just put it in there, and then you just start to thread it in. And as this winds in, it sort of like grabs it and expands it more, just stops it from really going anywhere. I got my head drain all sorted now. Both fittings are on and it's cut to length. Cut it a little bit longer than it probably needed to be, just so there's a little bit of movement in there. So if, you know, we need to sort of route it around anything we can. So this is tightened up. Like I said, can't really get it onto here because of the engine mount. So have to wait until we actually go to put the motor in the car when it's on the engine crane and off the engine stand, so I can actually tighten this up properly. But yeah, that is my head drain done. So that is a must do for an RB, along with the extended sump, because of unfortunately because of the oiling issues that these things seem to have. So yeah, that is pretty much my motor also ready to go back into the car, except for, I mean, even without putting the cams and all the timing gear and stuff on the front of the motor, I can still even put the motor in the car, because especially with the timing gear, I mean, you can do it in the car anyway, but all the rad support and stuff is all cut out, which will make doing it in the car pretty easy anyway. That will probably wrap it for this video. Quite a lot of progress done today, which is good. You know the deal, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.